Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, with the latest edition of Beef Watch 2024, with round-the-clock beef coverage. At least that's like what it feels like this channel has been reduced to over the past week. But yeah, as I'm sure a lot of you guys don't need to be reminded, there's a big beef off going on with all these rappers beefing each other off in every direction. The most notable of them being Kendrick, Drake, J. Cole, Metro Boomin Future, the weird love parallelogram they have going on. To put it simply, it's basically everybody versus Drake right now. The whole world is looking to get a piece of Champagne Poppy. And even though it seems like right now Metro Boomin is cooking up a Like That remix, Drake, right now, he's interested in one thing: a response from Kendrick Lamar. Drake's retort to Like That, at which he threw shots at everybody, but especially Kendrick, push-ups. We covered it on this channel. I liked it. I thought it was a pretty smart and good, snappy response that he pulled off well, despite having to address multiple people along the entire track. And even though everyone mentioned, I'm sure, is free to respond to that diss at their leisure, it seems like it's Kendrick that Drake really wants the smoke from in return. Drake has been vocally unhappy about the week of time that has passed since Push-Ups came out, which narratively is a bit weird, especially given it took him weeks to come up with Push-Ups post the release of Like That. I mean, I know it's Kendrick that initially started the whole thing, but I mean, we gave Drake his time to cook up his response, so shouldn't Kendrick get his, especially since he's got no ghostwriters? But Drake is really trying to goad Kendrick into a quick response, and he has shifted from social media posts and memes to dropping another track going at Kendrick. Going back to back with cuts is something that in the past Drake has been known to do. When Drake is in a beef and he's engaged, he keeps the pressure on. He wants his opponent responding. Kendrick, however, has remained silent and hopefully focused on whatever response he's cooking up. Fingers crossed. However, I imagine it's becoming harder and harder for him to play it strategically and take his time, especially given how Drake has escalated things just now with this track that is most definitely a first for hip-hop beef history, where Drake is not only rapping as himself, or not just kind of featuring himself rapping, but also featuring the AI generated voices of Tupac and Snoop Dogg. Now, just like I did with the last response Drake put out, where I kind of assessed the quality of the track musically, flow-wise, songwriting-wise, I have feelings about this track too on that front. And it's that I don't really think it's a good, cohesive, well-put-together song. However, I don't really think that's the point of this. Clearly, what Drake is trying to do is not assemble a great or memorable track lyrically or melodically or anything like that. He's engaging in a very weird and deep level of psychological warfare using the voices of Tupac and Snoop Dogg to push and encourage Kendrick to respond to Drake. Come on, Kendrick, we need you. The West Coast needs you. You've got to put this guy in his place. Imagine that, but in like Tupac's voice. And yeah, it's just as weird and outlandish and kind of twisted as it sounds. I mean, it reminds me of Drake's last major beef with Pusha T, and how that kind of played out with a lot of his fans kind of learning the lesson with how he was exposed that it's rap beef, anything goes, you can do whatever. And yeah, I think Drake and his fans have taken that to heart. With this, it seems like he's willing to do or say anything to get the W. Now, with that out of the way, let's make a very obvious and necessary statement here. Me thinking that Drake has made a very smart move here that puts Kendrick in a tough spot. That is not an endorsement of the AI type technology manipulation puppetry that he's engaging in here. In fact, I would say this track is an example of exactly why uses of this technology can be very fucked up and wrong and honestly horrendous. I mean, one of the only people who could speak out against this and call it out for what it is, Snoop fucking Ding Dong Dogg, he caught wind of this, and all he did was post an Instagram video where he's like, what happened with who and when and if and how and what? So clearly he has no two fucking cents to throw into this and wants to stay out of this beef entirely, even if it means his voice and his image being taken advantage of at the end of the day. I mean, this is the guy who was dancing on stage with the Tupac hologram over a decade ago. So even if this track, even if Drake's response here, how he pulled this off, makes me kind of wary and afraid and upset, not in terms of what this means for rap beef. I mean, who gives a fuck? No, I'm concerned more about what this means for AI music broadly and the normalization of basically stealing people's voices for whatever purpose you see fit and throwing it out there on the internet to say what the fuck ever. However, I don't think pausing this whole thing to have a debate on that topic is going to fix the problem, nor is it going to get us to where we really need to be. And that's getting a nice, solid response from Kendrick that's going to put this guy in his place. Because apparently the powers that be, the music industry, those who could actually stop him from dropping and sharing around a track like this, legally speaking, they're not doing shit. May I also say here, Drake totally stole Cal Chuchesta's idea because he just came out with a diss track against him in which he featured an AI Pusha T.
I sell cocaine, you have child, I sell cocaine, I sell.
With that being said, though, I do think Drake, especially with moves like this, has real potential to win over Kendrick, which is why we so seriously need a good, strong, solid response when we get it. And I think Drake may have handed him a bit of a treasure map for doing that on this response track. Because one of the weirder moments on the track, and it happens right in the first leg as we're kind of getting this AI Tupac vocal, a lot of the bars throughout this track are, you know, again, all about encouraging Kendrick to respond and do his thing and attack Drake and tear him apart. But there's one line that like really sticks out in a weird way where he's addressing the weird allegations that have been dogging Drake for years, where he just has this, you know, thing for having very odd interpersonal connections with teenage girls, which, I mean, there are lots of polarizing opinions on this topic. There will continue to be after this video, but it is very weird for Drake to like launder this topic through the voice of Tupac and soften the public's perception of it using his image. Like, never mind him fucking with Kendrick with Tupac's voice. The man is literally using Tupac's voice to get people to laugh off some very serious, you know, sussy patterns of behavior here. I do think it is telling that Drake would bring this up, would drag this up in this song, because he hasn't talked in his own voice this openly about this topic before, outside of like being angry at maybe some other artists here and there bringing it up. And it seems like, you know, to make an obvious 8 Mile reference here, he's really trying to be-rabbit the situation, kind of turn all of his flaws into a strength and, you know, kind of throw him out there before his opponent does, which is a bit of a weird move because in 8 Mile, like, wasn't the stuff he was saying and throwing out there first true? But yeah, talking about this behavior as if it's all just simply hearsay from the Joe Budden podcast is obviously Drake being purposefully disingenuous and reductive, which obviously we know he has a history of doing, especially in regards to this beef, as he continues in this track here, this new track, to, for whatever reason, paint Kendrick as like being on Taylor Swift's leash for whatever reason. Oh, he can't drop the disc because it's Taylor's release day or something. Dude, you are on video lip syncing to Bad Blood for an ad like a goober. Literally the song Kendrick has a feature on, and at least he got a feature. So again, to sum things up, I think Drake has made kind of a god tier level move here, yes. By that same token, obviously, it's very tacky, it's in poor taste, and I don't mean by rap beef standards. I mean by like the sanctity of art standards. Because I do think there is a hypocrisy going on here on Drake's part. Drake has been AI'd harder than pretty much every other mainstream artist out there, am I right? I mean, we've talked before about very popular viral AI Drake songs that have blown up on the internet, but in every instance that has happened, he and his label and whatever legal teams represent him have taken very direct and quick action to have that stuff pulled down immediately, not just off of DSPs where it's like kind of understandable, but also off of social media sites, YouTube, so on and so forth. I mean, obviously you can't get them all, but when they get really popular, really hot, start kind of eclipsing his actual recorded works, they nip that shit in the bud. So without coming out and saying it overtly, Drake has taken a very clear legal stance on this whole AI voice thing. And yet he feels totally validated in just impersonating Tupac and Snoop Dogg AI voice style on a song. So I guess Drake's position is AI for me, but not for thee. This does make it kind of hard moving forward to feel bad for Drake if and when he does find himself in a pickle once again in terms of like just being copied by some other AI voice model bullshit. I am going to leave it there. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or a link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Tupac, forever.